And welcome back.
We have been joined for the first discussion, as we mentioned, by the Vice President of the Belize Cycling Federation, none other than Mr. Erskine Butler. Good morning, sir.
Good
Morning, and thanks for having me.
There have been a number of issues being raised by cyclists, members of the Federation, and what have you. Let's begin firstly by discussing the present state of affairs within the Federation.
Concerning which part of the Federation you want?
The election process. I think that's the bigger discussion at the moment.
Okay. In November of 2017, we had a special general meeting, right, to ratify our constitution. Originally what happened is that in 2000, I would say before 2012, the previous administration, they had that the Federation was run under regional bodies, right? And under these regional bodies, you have to have a federation, an organization in the north, in the south, and also the west, and then the central. These bodies come together and then they vote a president for the Federation and 3 vice presidents also. However, in our term, we have found this that it wasn't working. Solely the centrals take care of everything throughout the country of Belize, concerning race, concerning finding sponsorship. So we decided to have these zones thrown out. But in order to do this, we had to have a resolution to our constitution. And that took place on the 28th, I believe it was the 26th or 28th of November. This was then submitted to the Sports Council for review. Yeah. However, under that process, they have to confirm the process is accepted under the Sports Council for us to even call an election. That wasn't done. So from then on, we just have to wait until that process is complete for us to decide when to set our election, right? Under that process, whenever that process is confirmed by the Sports Council, then the Federation can actually register the Federation if that process is complete. If that process is not complete, we cannot register the Federation, right? After that process is done, we then, you send a letter to the Olympic Committee, ask for someone to chair the election with the overseer of the Sports Council. If all the process is not complete, election cannot be set. Yeah. This is why we're at this stage. We did get a confirmation after all this back and forth with the members complaining to the media. We did get an answer back from the Sports Council to call election, to set a date for election. However, the activities from January till across country is very close, so the Federation won't set any election in that period because it only will damage the sport. No? Yeah. So this is why we set it for April 28th.
So there now is an official date for the Federation's election.
Yes, that's right.
Now, Erskine, let me just ask you, when the concerns were made public, because we understand that there were internal conversations taking place long before that. And essentially, when your challengers in the next election finally got approval from their lawyer, they took it to the public so that they would be aware. Obviously, it did something because it prompted Sports Council to move ahead to the election point. But let me ask you, as one of the persons on the executives who you are responsible for moving this sport forward, what was your reaction to the concerns that were brought forward?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I didn't pay much attention to Mr. Kano's concern. It seems kind of a little offset for us. For one, Mr. Kano is not a registered member for 2018. So when you send your information to lawyer to ask for the Federation to do this and do that, that's the first thing we look at if you're a member. He's not a member. In order to be a member of the Federation is that we have an application form that you fill out. It is then reviewed by the Federation and approved by the Federation. And upon approval of the Federation, we have to confirm that you made payment. You cannot just go pay at the bank, send the federation your receipt, and believe that you are a member. This documentation has to be filled out, and they are reviewed by me. So I know exactly who is registered and who is not registered, because I entered it in the system. So if this is not done, and you go to the media, or you go wherever you want to go, and you're not a registered member, I don't feel obligated to give you any information, right?
Yeah.
And then also, in light of this, what Mr. Kano did is that he have gathered information from the Constitution. He's an active cyclist for many years. But most of these, I would say, athletes, they tend to use the information when something is not going their way, but they do not fully read the information, right? The Constitution clearly states, in anybody to take place in an election, you have to be a registered member, right? He produced 4 persons for his slate. 2 of these persons are not even active members for 2017. So how can they be part of your slate? And this information was shared to him and also shared to the other 2 candidates. Now, being a fair person I am, I explained to the 2 young gentlemen that they are not even registered for 2017. So if you don't know, I will tell you, if you're not registered, you cannot go up on the slate. Because when time comes and you enter to the election, there is the list of all registered members posted on the door. If your name is not on that list, you cannot go in election. Right?
Now, I know there is a lot of bureaucracy when it comes to the federations that manage the different sports in the country, and we, on an annual basis, in one particular sport or multiple, we hear issues regarding the bureaucracy. But the sport itself is the fundamental issue, I think, that people want to see addressed. Belizeans love cycling.
Yeah.
And if we were to erase or to move away from the messengers, let's talk about the message. I think in recognizing that people come forward, cyclists, people who give up their life, give up all their resources to be able to invest for themselves in a sport, and are concerned that the organizing body is not doing enough. Did you listen to the message that was coming?
Well, we do listen to the message that is coming. However, there are always pros and cons, and always positive side and negative side of every federation.
Yeah.
However, if you have, say, 30% of our membership complain, then it's something that we need to look in drastically.
Okay.
But when you have 1 or 2 persons complaining every year about the same thing, it's something that I believe is not the federation issue.
Okay.
Right?
So you feel that they were the minority, they really weren't representative of the rest of the members?
That's right.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. I did an interview with Kaya Katus amid this entire fiasco.
Yeah.
And several, what I believe, very strong and serious concerns were raised, as far as the federation not hosting enough cycling activities for female riders.
And juniors.
And juniors as well. Can you speak to that matter directly?
Well, I can speak to that matter directly. That's something far-fetched. Every year, the Cycling Federation produces a calendar, like this one I brought with me today. Whenever we have any kind of race for the elite, there are races for female and junior. For example, in 2017, the calendar went out. The calendar had a tour, Valentine's tour for the elite last year. It also stated on the balance of the calendar throughout the year that we should have a Belize tour that has elite, and also a Belize tour that has junior and female. However, at this point, what the federation did is that this is in-house. We had 2 trips scheduled for last year. That's the Youth Commonwealth Games in Bahamas, and this is youth and junior. We then also had the Caribbean Championships for youth. This is male and female. We had representation in both of these events. That in itself is covered by the National Olympic Committee and also the Cycling Federation of Belize. When you look deeply in it, it has a cost. The Cycling Federation had to choose. We go tour for the elite, tour for junior and female, or we have representation internationally. internationally was the better choice. So we didn't have any tour for the elite, and we didn't have any tour for junior and female. But then we had good performance in the Bahama Youth Commonwealth Games by Nation Izagiri, Gian Lino. Then we went to the Barbados for the Junior Caribbean Championships, where we had good performance again by Gian Lino. Also Nation Izagiri went, Patrick Williams went, and then we also had the top junior female, Tara Lee Ordonis, perform well in the female event. So you have to give and take. You can't just want more for you. And then also when you look into activities of the federation, right? Whenever there's a calendar produced, you have a classics every month. The races that are taking places on the weekend, that doesn't necessarily have to be a federation event. That can be anybody. Anybody can has these type of race, but they must learn to use the guidelines of the federation when they have in these races, right? Some do and some don't. The federation doesn't say, since you're not using the rule, you cannot have your race. You can have your race, right? So we don't stop anybody to have any type of race. We just recommend that you have certain standard in when you're having these races, right?
One of the things that has always concerned me about sports in Belize, and as an enthusiast and as an athlete, you would be able to speak to these particular concerns. Like in football, you have personalities where when these individuals get into a room, it becomes the politics of the sport as opposed to the development of the sports. Because at the end of the day, Erson, like a footballer, he only wants to be on the field and kick his ball and enjoy the sport. A cyclist only wants to be on the track, burning rubber, and experiencing. Yeah, they don't need to be bogged down in the politics of it. How do you feel when you look at that as a possible means of sort of arresting the development of cycling in Belize?
Well, that is true. I came up in the ranks of cycling. I'm on the bike for 26 years and also part of the executive. Athletes want to ride. The job of the federation is to have classic event. We do have classic event. However, when it comes to development, there are certain process in development. Like for instance, if you choose to throw races, that is not development, right? Each team that has their group of riders, these teams are the one that actually develop their riders. The federation has races that the guys compete against in every category, right? They compete. For the younger generation now is that when you have a development program is that you will have like a seminar. They will come in, learn the different parts of bicycle, how to change bike, how to do swerving, cut through cone and this type of stuff. And also, when these development programs are on, you will have certain gear restriction for kids. That is not done, right? The federation sees that, yes, they're having races for younger generation that wants to come up in the sport. But you have to look at it after these races are finished. What is done? Nothing. You have, for example, yes, I do applaud Kaya for her step of having these races. But after these races are finished, what happened? Nothing. So I look at the series that they have a couple of years ago. They had some nice series at the track. After these series are going on and on and on, we had Alicia Thompson from the Belize Bank. She went back to her alma mater school, that is Wesley. She took on 3 of the young ladies. After the program is finished from these races, she actually took the young ladies under her wing, wake them up in the morning, go out to ride, and this is where we have Tara Lee Ordonis and we have Alice King. They get in a bicycle race, now they are competing, and that's a development. When you just have race, it's just having race. If I like it, I go. And if I fall along and I get scraped, then my mom says, better you quit, because I don't want you to get scratched up.
I think it's interesting, that perspective that you shared, because when we talk about sports development in this country, I find, and again, I feel like we're going back to the bureaucracy of it. We're going back to who organizes and who vets, rather than just realizing that young people need an outlet,
Yes.
and young people have natural talent, and if young people don't get exposed to any type of sport,
Yeah.
then they'll never pick it up,
Yep.
even if they could have been the star cyclist from our country. So let me go back to
Right.
just some of the fundamentals before we move on. How many races did the Federation host last year?
Last year we had 8 classics.
And what is your mandate?
It doesn't have a
You said one a month?
one a month. Normally the federation goes from January to September.
Okay.
And the season actually closes the 31st. The new season starts the 31st of October.
Okay.
But then we have out of competition races, out of half calendar races. For example, any event that takes place between October to December 31st, it's not on the calendar. Because the physical year for cycling, it's the 31st of October.
Okay.
So we have other races. We do have what you call the UWI race. We also collaborate with UWI. These races are held in November. They have no points towards the classification system at the year.
Yeah.
But these are also races that the federation helps. Right?
When you look at cycling since 2012 to now, the politics of it in terms of the election process and who's eligible to run and what have you, what I see here kind of reminds me of the issues that were involved in Emil Moreno's presidency back then.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the issue of, for instance, Dr. Bertie Chimilio's situation when he was at the helm of FFP. You have these individuals who are in power, who sit at the head of the administration, but for whatever reason, perhaps appear to be hell-bent on keeping that power, even if it's at the detriment of the development of the sports or the popularity of that particular sport.
Well,
How do you see that?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say that about the Cycling Federation of Belize. The members are the one that actually speaks and decide who they want. If you do any survey right now and you go out there is no one pressuring the federation to hurry do an election or that they want us out. I have no problem in relinquish the Cycling Federation to anyone, but if you want the Cycling Federation, the members will decide who will be the next executive. I have no problem with that. I love riding bicycle. I took this position because the Cycling Federation at that time was going the other way. We managed to get 80% of all our members to sign a petition that we want Mr. Moreno out. Here, this day, ask them how many people they have signed that they want us out. And that is the key. If the members want us out, I have no problem. And I believe my other part of the executive sees the same thing. We know what we are doing for cycling.
And again, I don't want to get back into the politics of it. I mean, if you speak of your opponent in an election, we learn from our leaders, it's never positive.
Yeah.
So, but I want to go back to what has been done for the sport, because the only proof you ever have of your success is the work that has been done.
Yeah.
So from the time you took over the executive, and we don't even have to go that far, I ask about how many races are held, how many people have been able to move to international races as well. I know there were some financing issues in being able to get the right representation. How have you been able to move the sport forward since when you were a concerned member moving into executive? What has been the turnaround?
Well, really and truly, every year we travel internationally. We never used to have junior youth go anywhere in this country. So that's a plus for us. In the international competition, for example, last year was the first year that even the elites in the Pan American Championships had a finish. So that's a plus for the federation. We used to go compete in these events and fall out. Now we're actually competing and finishing. So that's a plus for the federation. It shows that we are doing something good in both the elite, female, and also the junior. In 2016, we went to Barbados. We took on an elite team, both male and female. Both finished at the event. Justin Chavarria was the third youth, under 23. He got a bronze medal. Kaya Katu's place outside that medal rung, but compete. And physically compete, not just sitting on and get burned off. They actually compete. In the past, we used to have Shalini Zabane finish very well at these events, but these events back then was taken not only by the federation, but because of finances, she used to find her own finance to go to these events. Now, at this stage, we're not at that level. We're a little bit up. We can actually provide some sort of finance to go on these events. But if we don't have it, we don't have it. For example, for the past 2 years, the French Island, we had 2 Caribbean championships at the French Island. These trips are very costly. The NOC helps and the Cycling Federation helps. But in order for the federation to get to the French Island to race, you have to go to either Salvador or St. Lucia for 3 days to get this visa. The federation cannot take that type of burden and expense. You'll have to take your 8 athletes plus your 2 officials to Salvador and stay there for 3 days for a visa. It's just not feasible. In that same 2 years, the Caribbean Championship, from what it was, it dropped 50%. So it's not only us, it's other Caribbean countries. So when we look at it, it's not just that we didn't want to go, but other Caribbean countries face the same problem and they didn't attend.
Have you seen a growth in your membership over the past couple of years?
Yes.
Okay.
And also
From what numbers?
in the junior
What
field.
did you?
When we started in 2013, our junior field had like 14 riders.
Okay.
Right now we're at 32.
Okay.
Right?
More than double.
More than double. Okay. The elite rankings is a little bit different because what happened in the elite rankings is that as the guys, they reach the age of 35, most of the guys decide to turn to family. And the time to put on the bicycle, they don't want to put in at 5 hours, 6 hours. So what they do is that they turn to the other half of not the cycling federation, but the weekend warrior aspect, that you can go and ride for 2 hours and then you go compete in weekend warrior because those races are average like 50 miles. You don't have to put in a lot of time. So that's the only part. The elite is very marginal, but the junior field keep growing.
And we know that Kaya, for example, has her series, and there are other persons, I would imagine, who organize their own races. What do you do to work to build a community of persons who are cycling enthusiasts? You have your weekend warriors, you have Kaya who does her series, you host your own races. Because what I'm hearing is it seems to be more territorial than it is inclusive.
I try my best not to enter in that domain. The reason why is that whenever these series are run, normally you should at least express your views to the federation and ask the federation if you can join or whatever. But these events are not shared to the federation. These are like if Isana wants to have a race, he just decides to have a race. In other countries, that is not possible. Here in Belize, because we don't want to quarrel and fight, if you decide you want to have your race, you have your race.
So
But
you
it's
mean
not
there was
sanctioned
an
by-
It's not sanctioned by the federation. For example,
So what you're saying is I decide to start a race and I hold it, and I mean I have to get approval from Sports Council to be able to use the track first of all.
Yes.
And Sports Council is your the body above you, your
Yeah.
authority
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
So if Sports Council approves it, wouldn't it then mean that if they give the permission that it may be legitimate?
no. We are
But they're the body that governs you.
they're the body that governs us. We registered, all the national federation register under the Sports Council. However, all activities that concern cycling in Belize, we are the governing body. So you should get your approval from your cycling federation before you do anything.
Okay.
But no one lives up to that. And,
Okay,
and we,
so-
we don't want to quarrel about these type of things,
Well,
because
I
if
don't
you're
think
doing
we should.
something for the sport and we believe it's helping youth, we're not going to quarrel. But however, in some of these aspects, and I pay attention to some of the races and stuff that the kids there do. If I have a 5-year-old and you have a 5-year-old, and both are competing in these smaller events, if you're racing on a BMX and you're racing on a gear bike, it's not fair. That's the regulation what the federation does. You don't, because you have a gear bike and I have a BMX, you put them together to race.
Because they're
Everyone
5
has to
years
race
old.
on the same equal machine, and that's
Yeah.
the standpoint of the federation. You have rules and guidelines.
Of course,
Right.
of course.
No.
But when we're talking about 5-year-olds, it's only what their parents can afford. My point is this: I hear what you're saying. In other words, you don't go to the official body and I don't know, request a stamp of approval of some sort. But the point I'm getting at is, it is the development of the sport that should be the fundamental concern of all.
Yes, that is right.
And my question is, why not then, we get caught up in this bureaucracy instead of simply going and saying, let us help. You're organizing, you're finding your funds, let us help you because you're doing something that we aren't doing. And we
Yeah.
don't have maybe the finances, the resources to be able to do as well.
But you wouldn't believe that how that issue goes. You can't
Okay.
get in that easy. Right?
Okay.
So we on a whole, we stay out. For example, I will tell you direct. I don't like to point fingers that way, but the thing is that when these races originally started, there was a series such as races, right? My first instant was when I approached and I asked if we can do 1 in, 1 out. I did not get a feedback. So as the president for Belize City and vice president, I won't push and I won't push and I won't push, because what happens is that some people believe if this I am doing this, I am doing this, right? And I am not the type that likes to fight. I am the type is that this is the rules, and you're with the federation, these are what we're going by. That's it.
So what you're saying, that all these issues that are coming to light are simply personalities clashing?
Yep.
There are no concerns coming out to the federation?
There are no concern. I mean, if you really check it, and you look at the numbers and who is complaining, it's the same thing over and over.
So let me ask you this. A date has been set.
Yes.
So we know now definitively that in the weeks ahead, you guys will be perhaps campaigning amongst your membership in terms of seeking their vote or their support come the election day for you guys.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you're now vying for presidency.
Yes, that's
correct? And you will be facing Tariq Kano come
I
election
am
day.
not sure, because from what I
Okay.
understand, that slate may change. I am not sure.
Okay. But is he qualified or is he eligible?
Well, under the resolution that was passed in November, the agreement amongst all the managers that was at that meeting, we agreed that we'll use the membership of 2017. He's eligible for membership of 2017. These information will put to the national sports, the Olympic Committee for the election. The members come and vote. And that's what we had at the meeting. If the members decide they want, say, make we use 2018. That's the membership and the managers agreement. But right now the agreement it's a 2017 membership. And the 2017 membership of listed riders is almost the same thing as the 2017 membership of listed riders for 2018. However, the management staff change a bit. Because for instance, today, last year you might use me as one of your servicemen. I wasn't doing a good job, so you'll get somebody else. So that person is now took your spot for 2018. That's about it.
Okay. Now, I think it's important, obviously, that we talk about how you feel that the sport itself is doing in the wider community? The support, financial, the interest by players who are participating in the classics held by the Federation, and of course just the overall visibility. How would you rate yourself?
Well, we have been doing good from my standpoint. The only thing that I want to try to get in a little bit different is that we try to move into some of the districts and school. I have some friends in the Caribbean, and they have worked at this for many years. What they have done is that, like for example, athletics. Every physical education in school, they have track and field meets. You need somebody in the system that creates a bike race for kids to love bicycle. And then on an annual basis, what they do is that the National Federation have a grand meet with all the school, and then they race. But it has to start from somebody within the school. If a federation walks within the school and asks for bicycle, have a race or a ride, it will be a little bit different than when somebody that works in the school have the event. In my time, when I was coming up, we used to have our physical education teacher, we used to have laps around All Saints. We then pick up cycling. At that time, Boeing and Boeing chose the first Coca-Cola race in truck. They used to have devil take the hindmost, 2 lap, 3 lap, 4 lap, right up. And I get involved with the sports. I love the sports then, and then I just move up in ranks. That time, we didn't have, like now, junior race solely on its own. If you want to race bike, you had to race with the big boys. And that's the difference with this federation and back then. All these races are individual, and all of them has costs. Back then, everyone raced together. The female used to only ride on cross country. Now they have classics every month like the elite. So for development purpose, it's right on target. You have 4 females riding. If you decide to have, for instance, if you decide to have a tour for female, just alone logistics of the race, the female body cannot cover because it's only 4.
Yeah.
Right? So it's costly. And what happened from January to September for this federation, the elite riders and the junior riders take the expense of logistics for running female event. Right? So this is why female event, it's there on the calendar. We have races for them. But logistically, if you have a 2 days or 3 days event, it's not viable, right? And Mexico does the same. They have one tour for the year that they call Tour de Merida. In this event, we have 27 riders for female. Yeah. And you look at the size of Mexico population to Belize. You know?
All right. Well, we thank you for coming in. As you pointed out, the election date has officially been published. It is April.
It's April 28th. Time and place will be shared later on. Right. Also, I would like to say thanks for coming in. Thanks for inviting me. And this weekend we have our Belmopan Cycling Classic coming up, sponsored by the Belmopan City Council. Okay. It goes from Belmopan to Belize. But before I say go off, on the 3rd of March, we also, in collaboration with the UA, as they present their 70 years of service, there is a bike ride from the UA to 6 miles and back to Belize City.
Okay.
Right.
Well, Ersin, thank you for coming in and responding to the concerns that the members have expressed in the media. We appreciate you bringing the information and letting us know your perspective.
Sure, no problem. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Also, before I actually go off, I would like to take the opportunity to express that we want to see a way possible that we can actually sit with Channel 5 to have Channel 5 back in our sport. You know?
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.